One of the reasons that Minecraft has stayed alive as a game is mostly because of the creativity it offers, as well as one of its essential features, multiplayer. This lets a maniac like me simulate whatever I feel like, and because of features like villager trading, it's the perfect way to explain serious issues, such as the collapse of Venezuela. Now, with that being out of the way, let me tell you about Venezuela's villain backstory, starting with populism. On the global Minecraft server, Venezuela has a ton of coal. So much that it's been described as an island that's floating on an ocean of it. Having so much of a precious resource that everybody wants is obviously beneficial. So the Venezuelan economy developed by mining and selling a massive amount of coal, but in the process it became heavily dependent on the coal industry, and I'm pretty sure we all know why that's a bad idea, because the moment that your resource either dries up or becomes unprofitable, you're kind of screwed. So in 1999, this guy,
Hugo Chavez,
is elected to be the president, and he's a populist, which, if you can take a guess, shows that his source of power comes from how popular he is, and he does this by appealing to the masses. And how do you keep people happy? Free stuff! So he starts spending a ton of emeralds so that the new players can get a head start. We're talking food subsidies, XP farms, and basically everything a new player could ever dream of. But he gets a little carried away, and his reckless spending starts to catch up with him. Hold on, I'm getting a call. What do you mean he's dead? Okay, so before Chavez can change his spending habits, in 2013, he straight up dies. Yeah, and it's hardcore, so he's gone. Instead, his hand-picked successor,
Nicolas Maduro,
takes over, and surely he will fix the No. The price of coal has fallen back down to 15 coal per emerald, so it looks like all those pricey social services are gonna get cut. Not good news for the new players, because they've become pretty dependent. And so in 2014, after the price drop, Maduro ignores all of these economic issues, but that doesn't mean he's not gonna use the economy in his favor. So the first thing Maduro does is consolidate power. In 2015, he takes over the Supreme Court by ousting out all of the opposition justices and then uses them to strip power away from the National Assembly, because the National Assembly is also in the hands of the opposing party. Yeah, it turns out that whenever you take away people's power without them consenting to it, they get pretty mad, so he accidentally sparked a few massive protests, and this causes him to reverse the ruling in a few days. So we're definitely off to a great start. I mean, obviously Maduro isn't going to take this lying down, so he creates a new National Constituent Assembly so that he can change the constitution, and at this point, he pretty much has all the power to do whatever he wants. He also gives the military control of food imports to keep them complacent and on his side, and with that, Maduro basically becomes a dictator. But that doesn't really explain what he's doing about the oil prices, and to that I say, inflation! So Maduro turns on the iron farms and starts spitting out massive amounts of iron, and increases the inflation rate from 4,000% in 2017 to 1.35 million% at the end of 2019. Like, iron is so useless, people are literally spamming blocks everywhere because there's so much of it. The reason Maduro isn't trying to fix this is because he can exchange 10 iron for an emerald, while everybody else has to exchange it for 12,000! The fuck? Okay, so I was looking at an ABC video when I was scrolling through the comments, and I would just like to say, they are amazing. Like, this thread has more thought than I've put into this entire video. Like, one of these replies is longer than the entire script. I mean, come on. Like, look at this. Look at this. Somebody actually spent this much time arguing in YouTube comments, and they even cited their sources. Somebody even made a Hugo Chavez edit. It turns out that actions do in fact have consequences, and as history tells us, whenever rulers put themselves above their country, their citizens are bound to suffer because of it. First, let's discuss the most concerning issue, starvation. So, remember when I said that Maduro gave control of food imports to the military? Yeah, that means that everybody else is suddenly going to have a harder time getting any food for themselves. And it also means that incidents like accidentally letting 120 tons of food run in a port happen. What makes it worse is that 70% of the food in Venezuela actually comes from imports, and so this would predictably lead to shortages because of things like gross negligence and corruption. So what exactly does this mean for an average person living in Venezuela? Well, first, because of the aforementioned hyperinflation, the ration food that is available for purchase has become unaffordable for most. This has gone so bad that people are digging through the trash and eating things like rotten flesh and poisonous potatoes. And remember, kids, supply lines are what actually keep the world running, so when your logistics fail, so does your country. Instead of actually trying to solve this problem, Maduro's regime has decided to threaten doctors so that they can use statistics to make it seem like hundreds of people aren't dying from starvation. This, along with the inflation, has led to most of the population abandoning iron as a currency in favor of emeralds themselves, and Maduro claims that this is helping the economy recover, but he also says that iron is still the official currency, so we're definitely getting mixed messages here. At this point in time, Maduro and his cronies have decided to do the reasonable thing and blame other people for their actions, starting with blaming sanctions. The Lima Group, the United States, and the European Union all imposed sanctions on members of the Venezuelan government and specific members in order to make them behave, claiming that it didn't really do anything to harm Venezuela's economy as a whole. The answer here is that everybody is the bad guy! In 2020, the United Nations Special Rapporteur had a visit and concluded that the sanctions were being taken too far, as well as the fact that the country had degraded to such a state because of Maduro's mismanagement and overspending. I, for one, feel like a human rights expert is pretty trustworthy. Well, if things are that bad, why don't they just leave, is what you might be asking at this point, and my answer to that is, they are. Like, a lot of them are. Like 2.7 million people. The response of most countries has been to close their borders by making it more difficult for people to get in, but not Colombia. In fact, Colombia has kept their borders open, with locals even taking in Venezuelans. This approach has led to 1.1 million Venezuelans emigrating to Colombia, and there's a really good reason why this is happening, and I don't want to butcher the meaning, so I've linked the Vox video I watched explaining this in the description. Let's end this video where it began, the coal industry. Under the Maduro administration, even the coal industry that once served as the foundation of the Venezuelan economy has become crippled and degraded. It's to the point where they aren't even trying to find new oil, and are just waiting for their current known reserves to dry up. So what's the moral of the story here? Human compassion stands defiantly in the face of a tragedy. Be careful who you give power to. Maybe don't fuck up your economy! Well, whatever it is, I hope that you were at least entertained by this video, and thanks for watching. I really do appreciate it. I've always been bad at outros, so I don't really know what to say for the next, 20 seconds that I have left to talk about. So, I guess if I keep making videos, then you'll get another upload in the next week or so. I don't know. Well, whatever. Let's just play the music and be done with it.